So, Terry, what would you say to somebody? Because I love this dominant question philosophy, actually. What would you say to somebody who's like, they've been in business for a little while, they feel like they're still struggling with getting things going? Like, what would you suggest to them, like, how to come up with like their question? Since they're kind of, like you sort of suggest, like you do this work in the beginning, but if you already have a business that's running, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to pause, first of all, stop working, stop taking on new clients, and just focus on yourself. And again, if you go through these exercises where you develop your personal philosophy and your vision, you can find examples of other people who have found success in the same lane. And I'm not saying copy everything they're doing, but success leaves clues. If you realize, oh, they have a newsletter and here's how they structure it. Oh, they do a lot of podcasts, they write a lot of content, whatever it is, you can reverse engineer that process. And therefore, it's much more clear on how to move forward. And I would also say, don't feel like you've wasted your time, because that's, first of all, it's this useless emotion to feel that regret, but see it all as a learning experience and saying, okay, well, here's what I enjoyed about this. Here's the things that didn't feel too good. And I know I should avoid those going forward. But to recap, success leaves clues. So once you get that clarity, find other people who are finding success in the same route, but also make sure that they are kind of recently doing this stuff, not someone who's been established for 20 years and you're trying to say, oh, I guess I should advertise in the phone book. Like, that's not a good look, right? So you want to find someone who can give you modern techniques and approaches, not someone who just has been successful since the early 90s, because that stuff doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. No, I love that. And there is a lot of things happening and there's a lot of changes. And there are a lot of folks out there who are influencers that have that same positive attitude and that same that same attitude that says, I'm going to give back to help this level or this group get to this point, whatever the case is. You made a comment earlier. There are tons of free bits of information that's out there that people can research and find and essentially get better at what it is that they're doing. And I love your attitude towards this. I love the self-awareness. And I really liked your comment, the success leaves clues. Now, you obviously made a bit of a splash coming into this for yourself. LinkedIn, which is a platform I really enjoy, you've seemed to make a pretty good impact on LinkedIn, really being recognized by them. And one of the things that I found really interesting was your inclusion in the Entrepreneur magazine, and you have this in your title as a expert in residence. I'd love to know how that came to be with Entrepreneur magazine.
Yeah. Let me answer a question that you didn't ask first, because I want to make sure I hit on it. Why am I so active on LinkedIn? Well, I think we can often realize that our perceived disadvantages are actually an advantage. And on my end, with 4 children, I can't go to random networking events hoping to meet someone who can help me grow my business or learn from. So I was forced to go on a platform like LinkedIn and grow that way. And I remember when my third child was born, I couldn't barely think straight. So all I did for a month was just commented 10 times per day on various accounts, just commenting 10 times per day. That alone got me 2 speaking gigs and 2 clients. So that's why I'm so active on LinkedIn, is because I didn't have any choices. And then beyond that, the reason why, this is me self-assessing, the reason why I excel at doing online instruction and online courses is because I teach at NYU as well as General Assembly. But as I had more kids, it was harder for me to teach in person. So I've been teaching on Zoom since 2016. So when the pandemic hit and all of a sudden that was the thing to do, I already had 3,000 hours of instruction logged, online instruction. So I'm just bringing this up for anyone who feels like, gosh, this guy sounds cool, but I don't have time for all this stuff. Hey, neither did I. But I found a way. And I think through constraints, you can find clarity, because there's the paradox of choice, meaning when you have too many choices, you feel overloaded, and you also feel like you might have made the wrong decision afterwards. On my end, I'm like, I got 3 choices. so that's it. It makes it a lot easier to say, that's the choice you're going to make, and go in as hard as you can on it, because you don't have any other options. So that's my story. The question you asked was in regards to Entrepreneur Magazine, how that came to be. And oddly enough, that's actually a function of constraints as well, of being a parent. So at this time, my daughter Lena was, I believe, around 3 years old. And I eventually said to myself, look, I'm not working on weekends anymore. because she's at the point where she realizes dad's leaving on the weekend and asking me where I'm going and can she come? The answer is no. So about 2 weeks later, actually, my mother-in-law discovered, or actually, I think it's my wife, discovered there was this free gymnastics class being offered here in Brooklyn. Drop in, see if you like it. If you do, sign your kids up, right? So I go there with my daughter because I'm not working on the weekends anymore. And I walk in, and Jason Pfeiffer is there with his son, Fen, who's the same age as my daughter. And Jason Pfeiffer is the editor in chief of Entrepreneur Magazine. You can actually see his book over my right shoulder, right over here. And I'm like, holy cow, that's Jason Pfeiffer. And how did I know that? Because I'd been researching him and following him on social media for years. And what I'm going to tell you right now, it might seem like I got lucky, but I'll tell you right now, luck is when preparation and opportunity are met with action,
I
right?
agree. 100%. 100%.
My preparation, I'm following the guy on social media. Opportunity, bringing my daughter to this class. Action, I went up and talked to him. I said, hey, man, I love your podcast. He's like, well, what do you like about it? He's like, actually, how do you know who I am? And then he's like, well, what do you like about my podcast? So we're talking. Eventually, we have a coffee meeting a few weeks later. And this part I do want to harp on. There was a platform that Entrepreneur has. And more or less, I saw that there were some ways to improve the user experience on the website. So I made a video saying, hey, everyone, this site looks great. Here's 3 things you can do to fix it. And I gave Jason a copy of this video. It's like a Loom link. And that got circulated around Entrepreneur. A day later, they're like, hey, can you come in? We want to talk to you about some marketing projects we need your help with. That's how it all happened. So 2 steps. 1 is being a dad. 3 is proactively solving a problem for your prospects or target audience, and therefore giving instead of focusing on what you can take. So when you focus on what you can give as opposed to what you can take, things just work out better. So that's my story about Entrepreneur.
So what you're really saying is just another reason where kids can actually make you money, not cost you money.
Yeah. There you go. Good,
you know
good
what? I love that because, you know, there's so many times that these opportunities happen. And if you really stop and look and you go back the way you did, right? Reverse engineer that, really go back through the steps and realize there was a lot of decisions you made to get there. And yeah, you could easily say, right, like, oh, you were lucky or you're in the right place at the right time. I forget who says it. I'll be honest with you, but I say it here a lot to the team. And a lot of times I'll just tell them it's interesting. The harder you work, the more lucky you get. Right. And it just feels like the harder you work at something, the more you read, the more you research, the more that you prepare yourself, it seems like the luckier you get. And, you know, I know that not to be true, but if that's what somebody wants to call it, sure, luck. Okay. I'd rather be lucky than anything else, but it always seems to work out that way. And I love that story. I think it's great.